Hello and welcome to this lecture on planning a research project. After this lecture, students should be able to develop specific research questions, identify sources of research questions, consider the relationship between values, bias, and science, understand sources and impacts of funding and practicality on their research. In general, the research process is going to start with us picking a topic and asking a question. Then we are going to formulate the hypothesis, which is an answer to a research question, collect data to help test our research question and hypothesis, analyze that data, and evaluate whether our hypothesis was correct or not. Let's start with picking a research topic. What factors go into picking a research topic? Well, there are several things we want to take into account. The first is the state of the discipline. So what does sociology look like right now? What has been done before in this topic for sociology? Look at other research articles. Doing a literature review can help you understand where your topic stands within the discipline of sociology. Another thing we're going to want to take into account are social problems. What are some major social problems or issues in the world today that you want to understand better or try to solve? What interests you as a researcher? This is perhaps the most important one. You're going to be spending a lot of time on your project. You're going to want to pick a topic that really interests you and it's something that you can go forward with and learn more about and maintain that interest. Other things that we take into account when we're doing research projects that you may not need to worry about too much in this class are things like funding, societal pressures, social climate, and prestige. Basically, what is going on in the world around us that is going to make my topic either more interesting for people or less interesting for people. Where do you think I can get funding for this? Things like that. The next step is to narrow down our topics and questions. We need to be as detailed and specific as possible with both our topic and question. We also should avoid questions that have a yes or no answer. So things like, does this happen? Are people doing X, Y, or Z? Those sorts of questions tend to have yes or no answers, and we want to avoid those questions. Instead, we should ask questions around how, what, why, etc. We should look at questions that other articles or researchers have asked. How does your topic in question compare to what other people in the field of sociology have done? Write down multiple questions. Don't just come up with one, come up with more than one. Pick your best. Next, tell me, why is your topic in question important? Why is it interesting to you? Why should I care about it? Try to draw me in, convince me that your topic is important. So for example, we have this formula here. We can start with saying, I am studying blank because I want to find out what, why, or how, blank, in order to help my reader understand blank. This sort of formula can help us come up with a good topic, question, and reason and logic behind that question. For example, I could say, I am studying the impacts of Facebook on depression rates in teenagers because I want to find out how Facebook affects depression rates in teenagers in order to help my reader understand whether or not they should use Facebook or the risks of using Facebook. Next, we're going to want to come up with some hypotheses. Remember, we've talked about hypotheses in the past, and hypotheses are tentative answers to our research questions. They are going to be direct answers to the questions we pose with our research question. And there's three main ways we're going to use to come up with those hypotheses. We can use if-then statements, continuous statements, or different statements. An example of an if-then statement is, if a student spends more time studying, then they will get better grades. An example of a continuous statement, students who study more will get better grades. Different statements. Students who study more than 2 hours a day will get better grades than students who study less than 2 hours a day. So with if-then statements, we're saying if X happens, then Y. With continuous statements, we're simply saying that students who study more, or as something changes, something else will change. Students who study more will get better grades. With different statements, we're implying a difference between two groups. So students who study more than 2 hours a day, that's our first group, will get better grades than students who study less than 2 hours a day. That less than 2 hours a day is our other group. So we have two groups and we're going to be comparing their grades. You can use any of these three forms of hypotheses. Some will fit better with what you want to do than others, and you'll have to experiment to see which one fits best with your research topic and question. Alright, thank you everyone. That's it for this video. Talk to you next time.